Hello, this is Wmpyr. I'm watching a footage of a specific instructor, very popular instructor over in Japan. I'm not going to say who this person is, but this person taught the Japanese military. And yes, I know Japan officially does not have a military, but come on, their defense force or whatever they call it, it's military. Okay, so anyway, it's taught to them and they're doing a demonstration. The video's like barely not even a minute, almost a minute, but not quite a minute long. um, I no, it's maybe a little over a minute, my bad. Anyway, so I'm watching this video footage, and these soldiers are demonstrating these techniques that was taught to them. And look, so this guy, for me, this guy is, like I said, he's famous over there, and he's always had questionable and red flag things about him. And I've discussed this with my student and good friend over there in Japan. They're both instructors over there, um, and I've talked to them about this guy. Just yesterday, we talked for a few hours, and this guy's name came up. And I've also talked to my longtime buddy over here in the States who is military. So, anytime I have a question about, some specific details, like if you were going to go on a field, go into the field, what would you pack? And I would compare notes, and my friend would be kind enough to like show me a video of like this will give you a good idea. Watch this video, or this one's pretty accurate, or and then I could show him this guy's video of him packing for what he's claiming to be going to the field, and he's packing like toys and stuff. And I'm just like, would this happen? And he's like, no. you know so it's clear to me that this guy is fraudulent. Okay, so anytime you have someone that claims that they teach the military, you have to take it as a grain of salt, because for the military, if they're viewing it as, oh, a volunteer's coming in and they're a specialist in something and they're going to teach it to us, sure, if they have the time, they would gladly accept that. And from my understanding, if you are military and that's written in your schedule, that's when you go, yes, I get a break. This is going to be great. I'll do martial arts. Sure, I'll do a routine. Whatever it is. That's great. That's the way I think they're going to see it on the most part. Um, so we quickly misunderstand and misjudge a guest instructor that's coming in for a short time, temporary. Sometimes it's, I think, just one class. Like in the case that I did when I assisted my buddy, that was one class. Okay, so you cannot confuse that with an actual program that is mainstay in the military and adopted by the military, and it's going to be done for years. That is not the same. An actual combatives program that has been picked up. Okay, so don't confuse the two, because with the marketing, people make it sound like, yeah, I've taught the military, as if it was, an official program, which no, it probably wasn't. And in this case, I doubt that it was. Okay, so just be wary, because like I said, marketing experts, they'll freaking use this and deceive you with it. Is deception. It's a lie. Okay, and this dude, so he taught these guys, and these guys probably worked on it for, who knows, maybe months, I don't know, before they presented it to, I think, the public, and also probably higher ranking military officials. That's what it kind of looks like here. And they're doing it in like a banquet hall where they're demonstrating the techniques. So I see 4 men demonstrating. So these 4 men probably worked on it for, who knows, a month, or, until they could. They first had to learn it, and then they had to practice it, like I said, for quite some time until they had it down. I would make this the equivalent of, it's like, and I talked about this with my friends in Japan, that they were saying that this is like, because one of them is actually was former Japanese military or Japanese Defense Force, and he said that this is a lot of these ideas that I'm speaking in this video also come from him, that he shared with me, that makes logical sense to me. So he was saying that in something like this, that it would take diligent practice like that, and for them that this would be awesome break time because it's much better than working. And this is no different than marching, or not just marching, but like a parade marching where you perform, as civilians and high-ranking military officials are watching. And it's all about how good you look. So yeah, it's a demonstration. It is about looking good, rather than, is this stuff real life applicable? Is it usable in real life? And that's unfortunate. So anyway, the actual demonstration of the techniques, because that's what this is, it's a performance. And when they are demonstrating the techniques, a lot of people are going to watch this video and confuse it as this is what it's going to look like in real life. And what I have to say is, what they're demonstrating is a demonstration, and real life would look totally different. And for them to show this and make it look like, or give the impression that this is how it's going to go in real life, is deceptive. Whether they're doing it on purpose or not, it is two completely different things. And I don't like that kind of lie. If you're going to do a demonstration, you flat out say, this is a demonstration and it's not real life application, and real life will not look like this. But then everyone's going to say, then what does real life look like? And then if they even show it, where they do like full contact or something, now you got to explain all the techniques that you practice. How does it fit into that chaos? And a lot of times there's a big disconnect, and it doesn't, and you don't see any of it. Like when I was learning FMA, I fell in love with it, and same with basic Kuksu-wan. I was learning that as well, and I really, really liked those techniques. But when we did full contact, which we did, none of it came out. None of it. The stuff that came out were punches and kicks and grappling, even back then. And that was pre-UFC. I remember being finished on the ground with something you could barely call a choke. But yeah, we got into the clinch. I got kneed in the ribs so bad that I remember I had to get fixed by my chiropractor, essentially. And then got taken to the ground and choked out. Before that, we started standing off. So there were punches and kicks. We clinched. I got kneed so bad, and then went to the ground and got finished by a choke. And this is before the UFC. Anyway, I'm just saying, none of the Heaven 6, because that was also, FMA was taught to me at that time, and it was taught as this stuff you could also do empty hands. None of the empty hand FMA stuff came out, and none of the Korean Kuksu-wan joint locks, none of that came out as well. So basically, what was used in those full contact bouts that we had were like PKA style American kickboxing, point karate type fighting at that time. And I was learning Muay Thai kickboxing. That didn't come out either, because that took a while. It took me basically about 4 years until I was able to utilize Muay Thai in full contact. But at that time, it didn't really come out. That's the honest. And the reason why I even bring that up was because American Gladiator, former American Gladiator, Shannon Dallas Hall, who's an amazing athlete. she fought in the Sanshao tournament, the big national tournament that was televised, and it was held up in, I believe, Dallas, if I'm not mistaken, Dallas, Texas. So she fought in that, and from there, I think she went into a boxing career, women's boxing, and she was criticized where they were like, dude, you should take some boxing lessons, and her response was, what, you don't think I do? I mean, you don't think that I don't take boxing lessons? I mean, I totally do take boxing. You know, it's just that it takes a long time to where the way that you're fighting in the gym can come out in the ring. Well, I experienced that firsthand, so I know exactly what she's talking about, you know. So that was Muay Thai for me. It took 4 years until when you saw me fight and it goes, yeah, that looks like Muay Thai. It took 4 years for me to do that, you know. All the other times I fought, it just didn't come out. So anyway, I'm saying that there's a big disconnect in what they're showing here and what I really don't like, and that's fine. Like I said, that happens. That happened to me. It happened to Shannon Dallas Hall. Happens to everybody. But I believe here what they're demonstrating is, I don't like the lie, the deception, where they make it, they're trying to go, this is the way it looks like in real life. And it's not. What you're doing is textbook technique demonstration. That's all it is. And yeah, you could use those, you could try to use those techniques in real life, but there's nothing realistic about the way they're doing it. Okay. Now the next thing that I noticed and I don't care for, and I'm not here to tear them down. It sounds like I am, but the way to do this is not to sit back and criticize and act like you're better than they are and they're all wrong. That is not the way. You could be this style. I'm not going to say the name of the style. You could come from this style. Okay, I believe it's a completely fraudulent style, and I'll get into that after this, but it's what you put into it. So from here, these soldiers, I don't think they wasted their time. I think they could turn it into something valuable from all the, you know, like if they practice for like 2-3 months, right? And they practice these moves. From here, they could build upon, they could grab valuable knowledge and info from this experience. So in that sense, I do believe it is valuable. But the way that it is, no, I don't think so. I don't think it would be good to leave it just the way that it is. And one of my problems is every single one of their techniques that they demonstrated in this video, it's a short video, like I said, in this video, every single one starts from the bad guy or the enemy attacking first. And then they catch the enemy's arm and then they go into, you know, various techniques. And the catching part, look, try full contact. And you know, to make it realistic, try it in different ranges. You know, try it in medium range, try it in close range, try it when the person's talking to you, or when the person is, you know, has a gun to your head, or when the person has a knife on you, or when the person is reaching for a weapon. You know, those are all different ways to make it a more realistic scenario. Try it like that, but go full contact, and you're going to see how difficult it is to catch an arm. It is extremely difficult for them to catch an arm, for anyone to catch an arm. And to the point where I'm like, it's pretty much impossible, and I threw it out of my style. I don't do arm catching. I'm all about attacking the arm because defang the snake, attack the attack. So even in the clinch, I attack the arm with arm wrenches and stuff. So I'm all about attacking the arm, but catching the arm is a no. I have a very, very specific way to catch the arm, and it just sounds like I just contradicted myself, but catching the arm is a very, very special, specific thing, and it's not, I can't even recommend it. And the reason being is because from my full contact experience, whether it's full contact with weapons or full contact empty hand, I learned that you're just not going to catch the arm. So in this video, everything starts from the arm catch. So that means if you cannot do the arm catch, which I doubt that they can, because if you're human and you're going up against another human being, it's just not going to happen. So if that's not going to happen, then the rest of the techniques don't matter, because they're all predicated upon, they all depend on that first initial arm catching. So if you can't catch the arm, then none of the other stuff will happen. And that's huge. It doesn't matter how good the other stuff looks. If you cannot catch the arm, none of this is going to happen. And so that is a big, big problem that I have with a lot of martial arts, especially the traditional, the ones that come from a strong traditional base. You know, definitely those of you guys training in like stuff that come from traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu, because it's also demonstrated and taught this way, kind of like the way they're demonstrating here, where this is like the traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu before judo came along. The way they taught it is kind of like this, where it's choreographed, which makes sense. You have to do choreography, because if you just spar and you go full contact, you're going to hurt each other. So I understand why they developed that, but then, you know, Professor Jigoro Kano kind of was like, hey, you guys are forgetting, you know, maybe it was a very, very needed thing at the time, where he was like, that's all great that you train that way, but you're forgetting that real life looks a little different. We got to make it closer to real life. We got to put in real resistance. You know, we got to spar. And he developed judo, and boy, you know, that was huge. That was a huge thing back then. And, you know, still today, I think we're struggling with that transition, going from choreography to sparring. And I believe, in my opinion, the Filipinos have come up with something even better, the next evolution to that, which is partner drills. However, without understanding the transition from going from choreography to sparring, and then from there, from sparring to partner drills, if you just do partner drills, to me, it's useless. We're right back to choreography training, and it's completely useless. You're just working on a dance, kind of like what these guys are doing in this video, is they're dancing. Now from there, like I said, you could extract and you could develop great stuff. So I'm not here to criticize it. I'm just saying you cannot stay stagnant there. That I'm not saying the art is bad or the style is bad, but I'm saying you cannot stay there in those, at that level. You have to move forwards. If not, it's totally pretty much useless. Because that, to me, that's what it's really meant for. It's meant for, this is, we practice the moves. Okay, so we got a bunch of moves that we cannot use. So how do we start figuring out how to use them? So that's the next step. All right, so let me next talk real quick about this guy's background. He says that it's traditional, not even traditional, I would say ancient Japanese body mechanics is what he says. That's where it comes from. And in reality, honestly, it just looks like he ripped off Systema. I was like, you are a Systema guy. Now, I think he has said, yes, I have trained in, dabbled in Systema, you know, but then he dabbled in Systema and then made himself into basically a Systema master, but then that wouldn't fly, so he changed the name into something else. And then when they asked him about it, he said, well, it comes from ancient Japanese source. This deception, all right, is what I have the problem with. I don't have a problem with him making up his own style. I don't have a problem with that. Okay. But if you do make up your own style, why? Why did you do? Why didn't you stay with Systema And why didn't you keep working with Systema? You know, if that's where you stole it from, and if that's what you're doing, how come you stay? Was it because you suck so bad at it? Or you can't stand to be under someone else and you have this kind of personality that you need to be the king, you know, and you can't stand learning under somebody? What is it? What is your malfunction? What is the problem here that you had to break off and make your own style? Now, those are all malicious reasons, but there can be positive, you know, where, um, like in my case, I try to make it positive. Why did I break off from traditional Escrima? Why did I have to make my own style of Escrima, B1 Escrima? B1 means underground anyway, but by the way, why did I have to do that instead of just keep the name of the style that I learned, or the styles that I learned? Why did I do that? Well, back in the day, when I made a choice where I was like, okay, I've done enough combat sport training, MMA training, and by enough I mean, for me, my own satisfaction was achieved. You know, for someone else, they might look at me and go, no, you're way still, you know, you need way more MMA training. It's not enough. That just depends on who's looking at me. But for me, it was satisfactory, and I was ready to move on and go back into self-defense. And at that point, I made a decision. I said, okay, so what weapon? Is it going to be firearms? You know, is it going to be pepper spray? Is it going to be a collapsible baton? What do you want to focus on? What's going to be your main weapon? Not that I'm against those, you know, all the other weapons, because I'll use anything. Tactical flashlight, I'll use whatever. But what am I going to specialize in? And the answer was knife. And when I made that decision, I was going to go learn it from the best knife people on the planet. And when I looked up the best knife people on the planet, I didn't like what I saw. One of the best is still popular today. I looked at his stuff and it looked like crappy MMA. And remember, I just came from an MMA combat sport type background, and I was like, I just came from that. I was watching and studying that for like over on and off for 10 years. So here's some tactical guy pretending to be, you know, like an MMA fighter. And I was like, oh, wow, you're not at the level, you know, and people can look at me and say, you're not at the level. Well, this guy's even lower. So I was like, I'm not going to learn knife from this guy when I know he sucks. You know, he's to me, I was like, he shouldn't be doing this. He shouldn't be teaching this at all. He's just not at the level, you know. So I was very disappointed. And then I just basically came to the conclusion where I got to develop this on my own. So I did. I didn't want to. I really didn't want to at the time. If you could have if I could have interviewed myself at the time, I remember thinking to myself, it's like making my own style is a lot of work. So I don't want to do that. I'd rather go learn from somebody else. And I was ready to go learn from somebody else. I would have paid the money. I was like, how much am I willing to pay? Do I have to travel to the other side of the earth? Because I've trekked long distances, you know, in the city that I'm living in. I've trekked long distances to go train. So now this time I was like, do I have to go to another country to train? Because now what I'm looking for is very specific, and very, very specific, right? Knife. And I was willing to do that. I was preparing myself to do that, and I just couldn't find it. So then I was like, all right, well, if you don't like what you see, then you got to take matters into your own hands. And then I was like, this is going to suck. This is really, really going to suck because it's a lot of work. And so then I said, but I need to be able to rely on this. I need to be able to trust it. So I felt like I didn't have a choice. And that's why I made my own style of Escrima. And as I did that, I really felt like I was going back into Escrima, that I really wasn't deviating from it. I felt closer to, and right now I feel super close to traditional Filipino martial arts. So by making my own style, I feel like I've actually gotten closer to the original source material, and a lot of stuff to me that I feel like has been forgotten, and part of that is like what I've been telling you in this video about like partner drills. I feel like today when I look across and look at FMA people, I don't think they know what they're doing. And that sounds like I'm high and mighty and above. No, it just comes down to pressure test it. And when you pressure test it, you have to be open-minded. You cannot go, this is what I want to see. This is how it's supposed to be. And people, we are so good, human beings are so good at making excuses for ourselves. We will convince ourselves and we will go, well, in a knife fight, you're going to get cut. And so we'll make excuses like that, and even your students, I've had my students, they trying to help me make it look the way it's supposed to look. And I'm like, no, don't do that. If it messes up, the technique messes up, the strategy messes up, and it doesn't, you end up cutting me bad. Of course, we're using training knives, but you end up cutting me bad, or I end up looking real bad. We need to do that here and now, not out there in the streets. So don't hide it. Don't protect it. Don't cover it up. And that's so important, yet so difficult to do. It's extremely difficult. We have a preconceived notion, and we want it to make it happen, and we will force it. We will make all kinds of excuses. We will make all kinds of justifications. Humans are very, very good at making justifications, and that's how like people get out of shape. You make all kinds of justifications and go snack on that ice cream and skip the gym and not take care of yourselves and go, well, I'm stressed out, so it's okay. Or, oh, I don't want to get, I don't want to get burnt out. Or, we make all these excuses, justifications for not doing, for just making things the way we want it to go, or whatever's easier. So we have to battle that. And that's, to me, like, that's where that's part of being the humble. Like, humble isn't, acting like, oh no, I'm not a Jedi master, but then actually but you rebel. You revel. Is that the right word? When someone praises you, you get all like, oh, then you do think you're a Jedi master then, and I've seen some of the most world famous instructors act this way. They're like, no, and they try to act humble. And you go, when you taught me that move, it really clicked. And then they'll be like, yes, and I'm like, dude, you're acting like a Jedi master. You're acting like it was you that made that happen. And no, you're just supposed to be a guide. I am a guide here. That's all I am. I'm just a guide, and I'm just a dude, a regular dude working on my own craft, and I'm trying to bust my butt, trying to share it, and I'm not special, and that's not to try to act humble, you just focus on that. So anyway, like I said, I'm not trying to act humble by saying what these guys are doing it can be valuable. No, I really mean that. I don't care what style it is. So this guy ripped off Sistema. Let's say he did. He'll never admit it, and then he made up the excuse, the saying that it came from ancient Japanese body movement exercises or whatever, right? Dude, you ripped off Sistema, okay? Say that. Say you ripped off Sistema and you made up your own style. But why? Why? There's a reason why he can't. He can't say that, okay? So there's something wrong, something not good. Or maybe if he matures, he say, it started off this way. When I was younger, I was arrogant and I did that. I'm sorry. And then now it's developed into something else. and I feel like it can help people. You know, so then I would respect the guy if he can say that. You know, I would totally respect the guy because I'm not here to judge. But as of now, I just get red flags, right? But what we can do is not look down on him and view him as, oh, he's a snake, he's a liar, you know, he should never be doing martial art. Instead of saying stuff like that, I look at him and then I try to apply myself and try not to be the way he is. So it's a good lesson for me, and I'm grateful that I'm getting this lesson. And it sucks for him that he has to be the one, that guy. Of course, I don't think he feels that way because he's making millions. I'm sure this guy's making millions, seriously. But he doesn't feel that way, but he, you know, there's a price to pay for that. Okay. So anyway, I think I've gone all over the place with this. I think I've covered everything. So that's it for now. Thank you for listening, and take care, folks.